Listen, I might fancy Pamela Anderson. It don't mean anything, you know what I mean?
Well, if I'm standing behind a Labour leader who gives me the best chance of defeating reform, it's Andy Burnham.
He's the only one that wins an election for me. General election, he's the only one. Do you
Look
know he'd win the
what we could
members?
have had.
Looking at the polls, he would win those members.
I think he's the most popular.
He is.
Him or Angela Rayner, right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
the
yeah.
most popular.
Ed's
But
nice.
I think it might kill him this time.
Yeah. Listen, his team.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Politics of Podcast. I'm Ali Milani.
I'm Zoe Grunewald.
We've got Matthew Torbitt joining us today. Oh, how do I describe you? Political commentator, broadcaster?
That's broadly all right. Writer, broadcaster,
Campaigner?
activist, pain in the ass, like whatever. Depends what lens you're looking to, I
Gobshite.
suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recent migrant out of London.
Yeah, also true. Yeah.
Where are you
also
now?
true. Oxfordshire.
Oxfordshire. How are you enjoying it?
Nice. I'm living I think I've probably become middle class. I have a
Nice.
puppy. It's nice to have a house with a garden and not live in a room. And
Nice.
it's good. It's good.
Upper class these
Yeah,
days.
Yeah. Having a real class crisis at the moment, definitely. But yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice.
Okay, so the concept of today, what we're going to do, we want to look forward to the next Labour leadership election.
Oh dear.
We'll talk a little bit about the context as to why we're doing it and how the current leader might be struggling. But what we want to look at is who the top contenders are, the runners and riders are, and who we might think might have a good chance. So what we're going to do is I've got a bunch of headshots of the MPs who the bookies and the sort of rumours around Westminster say are most likely to be in the race. I've got a few dark horses in there, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about them. We're going to put them into different piles, in essence. So the first one will be on the ballot. So on the ballot means, they'll definitely be one of the top contenders. The next one will be has a good chance. So this is someone who might not necessarily be in the top contendership, but we think probably has a strong chance of being in the conversation. Then dark horse, so someone who might not be being spoken about, but we think that they might have an outside chance. And then no chance. So,
Okay.
Before I start this, because we particularly know these MPs. For you, it's a bit of fun.
Yes.
So relax.
Don't get your
right?
feelings hurt.
Yeah,
If you didn't
like-
make the cut,
Yeah,
it's only us
like-
three.
Honestly, stay out of my mentions. These two are where you want to be. But let's start first with the context of why we're having this conversation, because we have not just made it up. There's a lot of rumours in Westminster that by this time next year we might be looking at a leadership race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do we think Matthew? I'm going to call you Matthew, not Matt. What do you think that is? And do you think that's realistic? Actually, do you think we could be looking at?
I've always said it. I think I said on election night on a different programme, this is the best it will get. Everything I'd seen from my time working with frontbench MPs was that this would be essentially managed decline. And I think even for all the goodwill in the world, Labour would essentially run out of time. And this is why the whole decade of renewal sort of slogan was a big thing, because to turn things around, to be totally fair, after so long and being left with the inheritance they did, it was never going to happen within 5 years. We obviously have public polls that show the Prime Minister as the least popular Prime Minister, I think, in living history since polls have been going at this current juncture a year in.
There's never been such a rapid decline in popularity. That's the big part as well. No one's been this unpopular in their first term in office.
No,
in their
exactly.
First year in office.
And this is the weird thing about Starmer, because my brother put it quite subtly. He's one of them that is engaged in politics, but not to the extent that we are. He watches the news, he takes a bit of it, and he reads Twitter. Yeah, he is. And he said the difference with Starmer is people are either ambivalent and don't have an opinion on him. Joe Public, they'll just go, I don't really know, don't know what he stands for, whatever. Or people can't stand him. They'll say, I can't stand him. And little things like, there was a tweet the other week, someone's, as a joke for the stag on a stag do, has got on Starmer written on the back of an English shirt. And it's that thing of being embarrassed. I don't think we had that with Boris, as much of a clown as he was. So he's almost somewhat of a figure of fun. And allowed himself to be pigeonholed, which is maybe why he's come out with things like recently, like I'm an hard bastard, and everyone sort of laughed and gone, really?
Did he say I'm a hard bastard?
Yeah, he said in an interview, was it with Tom Baldwin or one of the others, that they think they call it doing a Baldwin. He goes and speaks to his mate and it gets written up and it's like bizarre that he does it. But he said, no, I'm an hard bastard, really. Yeah. And like you're not taking that seriously, You know what I mean?
How has it gone so wrong so quickly?
Well, I think Matt's right in that you could kind of track this. I mean, everybody knew that what was required was a huge amount of change. And the problem is they kind of did say there will be change. But even thumbing through the manifesto, it was like, and what chapter does the change begin? You know, where is the change? But I think everybody just knew, you know, you just had to get the Tories out because things were only going to get worse. You know, Rishi Sunak could not get any legislation through. I mean, the first thing he tried to do was have mandatory targets on housing. His party just wouldn't vote for it. So he was basically a lame duck. So they had to get the Tories out. The Tories had to reset. Even the Tories would admit that. And so Labour kind of coasted, and they kind of knew that they'd get in. And they thought people want a light touch politics. People want, you know, not to feel the weight of politicians too heavily on their lives after, you know, the psychodrama of Liz Truss and everything. But that was a fundamental misreading. Yes, people want less of the psychodrama, but they were still experiencing declining living standards, a housing crisis, you know, all these other things.
But it all just felt primed for the bit I guess is most surprising is Labour had been out of government for so long that you would have thought that the enthusiasm of the change in government after 14 years wouldn't collapse so quickly.
Well, that's to pretend there was any enthusiasm, and I don't even
well, there
say
wasn't,
that to throw shade.
Well, there was an enthusiasm to get rid of the Tories, but not for Labour.
Exactly, and I actually think reform will benefit from that as well, because I don't think there's necessarily a groundswell of support for reform. There's just a hatred of Labour, a hatred of the Tories, and a sort of feeling of wanting to try something else. I think the other part of the problem was there was no plan, to which people listening will go, what do you mean? You were out for 14 years. How have you not come up with a plan? There was a plan to win the election. There wasn't a plan to govern, and you can tell that immediately because anyone that you speak to that served in government will say if you don't have political priorities, the civil service will try and foist their political priorities onto you, which is exactly what the winter fuel was. And anyone you speak to from the Tories says, yeah, no, they did it every year, we won't touch it, and therefore somebody has signed that off and gone, fine, yeah, we'll go with that, because there was no... And I think part of that as well, you know, you had Spads getting into teams that they weren't in previously. They hadn't done any of the groundwork as in opposition because it was trying to find jobs for loyalists and jobs for mates and stuff like that. And I know that's part of it, but there's no consistency. Those who are seen to have done well, arguably people like Wes Streeting, Bridget, Phillipson, have managed to tick off things that they wanted to do. Yeah. They kept their teams absolutely intact. There was no movement. There was no helping somebody out by giving them a job and that sort of thing. So.
I think this is the problem with Starmer. He's a mirror. He doesn't have a vision.
He himself says that though. He said he did it in the Baldwin.
But he will reflect back whatever the person in front of him is saying to him at that moment in time, right? So it's Morgan McSweeney who is, you know, his chief advisor, who is quite ideological. Yeah. But it doesn't.
But why get into politics if you're him if you don't actually want to?
But when it comes out of Keir Starmer's mouth, it doesn't even sound ideological because you know he doesn't really believe in it, right? And I think Matt's right. There are people around Starmer, and we'll get onto them, who quite clearly have political priorities. But I think I feel almost a bit sorry for Starmer because I really think he thought he was going to be a managerial, technocratic prime minister, and that's what he was led to believe the country wanted. But there was just a huge misreading of what actually was needed, and it was this vision. And I think finally the party are picking up on that, and it's not enough to be Morgan McSweeney's mouthpiece. Yeah. Because when it comes out of Keir Starmer's mouth, it just doesn't feel real. People don't buy it.
All right, we're going to get into the section. So first, just to explain to people watching how it works. So let's say Keir Starmer resigns tomorrow. How it would work is, so the MPs would announce that they want to become the next leader of the party and therefore Prime Minister. And then they need to get other members of the parliamentary party to support their campaign. So sign up to their campaign or sponsor them in essence. I think they changed the rule where now you need 20% of the PLP. Right. We have 400 MPs, something around that. Mm-hmm. So they'd need about 80 MPs to be on the ballot. That's not what we mean when we say on the ballot. What we mean is like one of the top contenders when we put it in the groups. And then the members, the trade union affiliates, and the members, the trade unions, and the affiliates would get to vote in electoral colleges.
What are the affiliates?
So that would be socialist societies, people.
Yeah. Okay.
People cool. like lawyers for Labour,
okay,
scientists for Labour, which exists, by the way. So let's do this.
Okay.
We're going to go through each one. We're each going to pick one, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that person's prospects, and then remember, we're going to put them into. We're going to have to decide between us. We can vote or whatever, whether they're on the ballot, have a good chance, dark horse, or no chance. Okay. Right? Mm-hmm. Matt, you want to pick the first one, top of the pile? Okay, so that's Alison McGovern. In case anyone, because I knew. So the reason Alison McGovern's in there is because I've heard the rumours in Westminster that she fancies it.
Listen, I might fancy Pamela Anderson. It don't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Well, crazy.
No,
Wow.
listen, Alison McGovern's a nice woman, very organised. She ain't no leader of a party.
What does she do now?
She's oh God, that tells you why. It's very anonymous. Is it DWP? She always had a passion for DWP. She's not Secretary of State, I don't think, but I have a feeling she's in the team as a minister. I think. That's terrible knowledge, actually.
So again, I heard this from a good source in Westminster that, for example, the right certainly fancy her as a future leader of the party. Whether that'll happen this time, I don't think she'll run this time, because I think I know who the right candidate will be for that of the party. And when I use the term right, everyone knows what I'm talking about in the Labour Party.
But it's probably worth going into the factionalism a little bit, right?
Yes.
Because what is it that the right want in their leader? I mean, are we saying Starmer's of the right?
No, I wouldn't say Starmer's of the right. I think Starmer was a vessel. So the way the factionalism in the Labour Party works predominantly right now is you have the right, which some would argue is actually a right wing. Others would say it's on the right of the party. That's the Labour to win, sort of Luke Akehurst, that sort of faction. You have the soft left, which is more open Labour. There'll be more people probably like Dawn Butler. Angela Rayner was traditionally soft left. I don't know if she's still soft left. Lisa
and Andy was, if I remember right, Lisa and Andy sort of had roots in Blue Labour many moons ago.
So,
I'd sort of just, as a vibe, put her as more of a soft left type, actually. This is the problem. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you have the left, if it still exists in the party, which is the Richard Burgon, John McDonnell,
Social campaign group sort of stuff,
So are we straight away, Alison McGovern, not a chance?
I'm sorry, I couldn't. I mean, I looked at her and I remembered she was, in fact, a Labour MP. But no, I don't think she's going to be the next leader.
The issue I have with it, if I'm going to be serious rather than just laugh at it, Ali McGovern has been a rising star for the best part of about 14 years now. I don't know how much further she can rise without sort of the Milky Way being a distant in the background. The one thing I will say is she has a big backer in Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown has always supported her. I think she came in obviously as sort of a Brownite, which some might argue is sort of soft left. I would put her more firmly on the sort of centre right of the party, not quite Labour to win, but that sort of mesh in the middle or whatever. So I can understand why people may begin to talk about her as such, but they've been doing that for ages, and she's made not a huge impact.
While we've got her, so I think we've all agreed she's not a chance, but I do think people should keep an eye on her, because I know that people in the factional side think she's got a future. Can we talk about the women thing? Because Labour haven't had a full-time, I would say, leader who's a woman. Obviously, Harriet Harman saw the party through various...
Margaret Beckett as well, briefly,
through between leaders, but the party's never elected a woman leader. There is a question as to whether that's going to be a serious sort of drive from within the party at the next election to say, no, like, time's time, we need a woman leader.
It feels like every time they say, no, this is the time for a female leader. And
it never happens. I was sure the last time was going to be the time.
No, I knew it'd be Kay. I was Camp Lisa. I was Lisa Nandy. I thought she understood the Brexit issue the best and why we'd potentially lost a lot of the voters that we did. I felt we needed a woman. I do think you need the best candidate. And if that's a woman or if it isn't a woman, it shouldn't matter.
But I think the argument...
I think the pressure is going to become insurmountable.
You can't... I think a lot of arguments will be, you can't tell me that of the, how many, 100 and something women MPs in the Labour Party, there isn't one that's as fit as any other men to do it, right?
It's like, is it
it's
going
just
to be...
crazy also that the party of the left or centre left or whatever you want to call it has never had a woman as leader.
Is it going to be one of those things like the first female president is undoubtedly going to be a Republican? The first female Labour leader will be from the right of the party, because it's just more palatable for the rest of the party. Like, it's more palatable for the US public to vote for a Conservative woman.
I think there's part of that, and I think I can only say so much on it as a sort of white guy, but I think anyone I've known that's worked for the Tories say that they are less condescending towards race and gender in a way that Labour and the progressive left aren't always. There is definitely a bit of a blind spot that many of us on the left think we're holier than thou and we've got the right intentions, and actually it's a little bit pat on the head sort of stuff. Whereas
we're also so convinced that we're the party of anti-racism, we're the party of women's equality,
exactly.
we lull ourselves into complacency.
Whereas people that have worked for the Tories, who I've known in the civil service and therefore have been on the left as well, have said they just didn't. It's not. I don't believe anyone can be colourblind, but it was almost as if they just didn't see it. They treated you if you worked hard, you got promoted, and I think a lot of the times we don't do that in our party, and that's a bit of a travesty in itself.
Right, should I pick the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
See who we've got.
Yvette
Cooper. So current Home Secretary. I don't know if she'd want it.
I don't think she wants it.
I think she would have stood last time if she wanted it, but I will say she's one of the stalwarts now of the party. In essence, I think she's got a lot of respect in the PLP. I think from the parliamentary MP members. I wouldn't say there's any enthusiasm really behind her campaign. I don't think she's a particularly skilled political communicator, but there's definitely some in there that are worse.
I think the problem for Yvette Cooper, and I'm not convinced she wants it anyway. Because and partly that might be some people just don't want to be party leader, and that's absolutely fine. But also, I'm pretty sure she's had quite a lot of abuse and threats. Right, I'm right in thinking that there was quite a big incident that she faced, which I think is public knowledge about. I think someone threatened her at her home potentially, but I need to check that. But I think she's been in this for a long time. Obviously, her husband Ed Balls was in it for a long time. I think if she'd wanted it at this point, I think you're right. She probably would have run. I would also say that being Home Secretary is a difficult job in this particular political climate when immigration is such a massive issue. To then make your case for leader of the Labour Party at next time, because anybody who is Home Secretary, in charge of the police, in charge of immigration, is going to have an uphill battle to fight when it comes to naming their successors.
Yeah, and first of all, I don't think she'll have much successes to point to.
And that's, just to say, that's both for the left of the party and for the right, because the right are going to think she hasn't gone far enough, and the left are not going to like her approach. And
they're never popular. Home secretaries are never popular in recent memories. I think.
So is the view that she wouldn't have accepted the job if she was ambitious?
No, not necessarily. I remember on reshuffle day when she got the role in opposition as the shadow Home Secretary, and I had said to someone who's now in government, you've done quite well at getting her to step down from the select committee role, because you get an extra, is it 20 or 30 grand a year to be the committee chair? And he said, yeah, we had to do a bit of a deal. And I spoke to people around her, and she had ambition still for leadership. She did. Yeah. But she was questioning herself whether she was too old. And I think the sweetener was potentially whether her and Ed would end up with a peerage at some point. And I wonder whether actually she'd like to try and do a bit in government and then retire quietly to the House of Lords, and whether Ed gets one is another question. But
can I just say also, I don't want to do too much identity, but there's no way a man questions themselves and thinks whether they're too old.
No, oh God, no.
It would never happen, by the way.
Yeah, it's true.
It would never happen. Sorry.
No, it's true. Absolutely
This just
true.
doesn't happen. There's no way.
So I would say no chance in the sense of she doesn't necessarily want it.
I also don't think she... So one of the things... The context of the election matters. So, for example, I think Keir Starmer won because people were so traumatised at losing in 2019 that they went looking for the most prime ministerial looking person.
That's what I said at the time. Yeah. I said we've elected a haircut.
Yeah,
he looks like he's basically a bloke with a haircut like that. He's like David Cameron or something.
Yeah, people kind of reverted to their safe place.
Yeah.
The context of this election will be we're in government, so that'll be different, right? Labour electing someone in government, I think, will be different. We need to do more, and we need someone exciting. So, for example, Starmer has been a pretty bad political communicator, not very exciting, not a lot of enthusiasm behind him. So I think the selectorate of the Labour membership, and maybe even the PLP, will be looking for someone with a little bit of pizzazz. And I don't think she's got that.
Personality, charisma. That's where Starmer fails, all over, obviously. And we lack a lot on all sides of sort of politicians with big charisma. Yeah. I think someone like Blair made it look easy at times.
He did
look at his old PMQ sort of thing. He sort of oozed it in comparison to some of the.
I once asked someone who knows Keir Starmer about. He's a lawyer. Why is he such a bad communicator? And they told me the difference between Blair and Starmer was Blair was a jury lawyer, so he would speak to a jury, which was much more emotive, much more emotional, and you have to bring it. Whereas Starmer was a judge lawyer, so he'd have to convince the judge on the technicalities of the law, and that's why their communication skills are so different.
That makes sense.
So are we going to vote? I would say not a chance.
Is there one above Not a Chance?
Dark Horse.
No.
Not quite.
No, I'm going to go back to Not a Chance.
Not chance. Yeah, I think we can agree on that
next?
one.
Yes. Okay.
Who are we going to get? No, top one.
Oh,
just take one off the top.
Sorry. My arms don't reach. Oh.
Nadia Wittam. So someone who would definitely be on the left. Very young, I think. So the reason I've included her in this is I don't think she'll run. She might run for deputy leader, but I definitely think she has some charisma. She's very young, has a decent amount of, I think, can communicate.
I think she's a good communicator.
But not one that you would instantly think of, right?
No. I like Nadia. I think she's a good communicator. I always thought she was a little bit savvier than some on the left.
Yes.
Because, and whether she's realised that, she's in an incredibly safe seat, so there's a whole career ahead of her if she wanted it. If I compare her to somebody like Zara, who would just go for the jugular every time, Nadia would do it in a way where she wouldn't fall foul of the whip necessarily, but would retain her integrity of the position that she'd taken. There is a certain way of manoeuvring in Parliament.
Do you think she can coalesce the left?
I think it's coalesce.
Yeah, coalesce the left around her. Because one of the things the left of the party has struggled with, and I'll say that someone from the left of the party, after Jeremy's tenure left in 2019, there wasn't someone to coalesce around, really. She hasn't been able to do that. No one has on the left of the party, really. But if anything, I think she's young enough. She's a woman. She is very principled, is a good communicator. She might have a chance at coalescing people around her. I keep using that one.
I just can't see her getting the numbers.
No, she won't have the 80.
And that's where I think you put her in not a chance and not in an awful way, because I think she has a lot to give.
Yeah.
But maybe she has a few. Maybe not this election.
Yeah.
I wonder whether she'd want it.
Yeah.
I wonder whether she's someone that would court leadership. Nadia's always struck me as someone that's principled in the sense of she wants to do the best for her constituency. I'm unsure whether she has thought or had ambitions for anything more than that, and whether she would really want to go for it. And I think the problem is, we see this all the time on the left. There'll be someone else within the socialist campaign who will go, no, I'm being the leader this time. And so I think because of all of those factors, it ain't gonna.
We've got to move more quickly, Joe.
I was going to say as well, I think you were saying she seems like a more kind of sensible, if you want to put it that way, moderate kind of voice on the left. I think that those people are the ones who tend to have the realisation that if you became the leader, you'd have to make a lot of compromises, and therefore it might not be worth the ag.
Yeah.
So I
think
kind
a lot
of feel
people would have seen Jeremy's
from the left, you need someone with an ego, I think, and I mean that in both a positive way and a potentially negative way, because you need them to be convinced that they can change everyone's minds.
So where are we going? What are you going?
I'm going to say not a chance, but similar to Matt, not in a insulting
I'm going
way.
to say dark horse, just because I think the context of the election might call for someone from the left with enough charisma to do something. But again, I don't think she'll get the numbers. But I'll say dark horse. What would you say?
I'd say no chance. I think the left will have potentially try a candidate. I just don't think it'd be Nadia enough this time.
Do you want to pick the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Matt.
Yes, it's not me.
Dawn Butler.
So a lot of people. I mean, she. By the way, she at conference on our show, Fubar, said she wants to run for London mayor.
Yes, she's always wanted to.
I think that's what's going to happen. But this leadership election might come around quicker than that. She did run for deputy leader and didn't have success last time. But if we're looking for someone with a bit of pizzazz, she definitely has charisma. Whether she has like the operational team around her, for example, and whether she can get 80 MPs, I don't know. But I think she's a decent communicator. I think sometimes message discipline could be a little bit better, but that's the technical thing. But definitely has some charisma and ideas about her. Seen as on the soft left, I would say.
I'd say so, and I think Dawn has worked hard to sort of slightly moderate herself in the hope that she will get the nomination to be London Mayor because of the current factional position the party is in.
Do you know what she's got that 90% of MPs don't have? A fucking personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why she'd be a good mayor.
Yeah, honestly, so many of them, and if you're watching this is, I think, a pill of hard truth. They're such boring losers.
But and that isn't a universal UK thing. I think when you look across the American election, they spoke about how many Democrats, or for instance, how many Labour MPs could you send on to a Joe Rogan type podcast and they could hold their own.
Of the four we've got now, would you send any of them on Joe Rogan? I wouldn't mind. I think Nadia might.
I think Nadia'd do okay. Yeah.
I think purely because she's a bit younger and they'd be intrigued. I think Dawn could. You see, Dawn can, give a good speech in the House of Commons. Although I hate it when MPs hold their phone. I wish she'd have a bit of paper. I'm a bit old school like that.
Well, I don't think you should hold anything.
If you can, it's a big skill. But obviously, she can go on things like Big Nasty. I think she can go on whole different types of podcasts.
But that's what I mean. She's got a personality, right?
Yeah.
And I think people
like people that can have a laugh.
If you have a personality, I think it makes up for a lot of gaps in political operation and the political element. Because, for example, Boris Johnson made gaff after gaff after gaff, right? Yeah. But because he had a personality, people are like, it's that old thing. I want to have a beer with him.
Literally,
right? I think she would be a great candidate for the London mayor. Something that allows her to connect with a city and the identity of a city and have that bit of fun. Like you see Sadiq Khan having sometimes. Like there is like an element of you can be a bit more of your own person. Whereas you have to have the life sucked out of you a bit to be the leader. Yeah. You have to be able to shape shift into something that is appetizing for everyone.
We saw it with Miliband, didn't we? They take the personality from you. You're not allowed to be yourself. Yeah. And then post-leader Ed Miliband, everyone's like, oh, he's great. We all like him again.
Why didn't this Ed run, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. So I would put Dawn in the not a chance purely because she'll be totally focused on London Mayor.
Yeah, I would put her in not a chance because I don't think she would want it.
I don't think she would, yeah.
But I think if she did stand, she'd be one of the few with a personality. And I think that would go a long way for her.
Right. We gotta speed.
Speed up. Talking of London Mayor.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this one, yeah.
So, Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, former MP of Tooting. Now, he would struggle insofar as there's someone else in there who would have this problem. He's not a current MP, and you need to be either a Member of Parliament or a Lord to stand as potential leader of
He would be the ultimate wind-up candidate for the right. Because, Reform have him absolutely. They are his target number one. They think he is everything that's wrong with the country.
Can you imagine?
And I think he handles that quite well.
Can you imagine?
So I'd like to see it.
Can I tell you why I would like to see it? Because I think Rupert Lowe would jump off of Westminster.
Yeah, Susan Hall would have an aneurysm. It's like unbelievable.
Oh, fuck me. Susan Hall would lose her wallet again.
If Labour went full, fuck it, let's just piss him off on the way out.
So let me make a case for Sadiq, right? I don't think he's going to do it because I think he actually enjoys the job of London Mayor. I think you're right. I think he feels at home, and from what I hear, he might even go again, which he's able to do. But he's definitely capable of holding up to the scrutiny of the national media. He's done that as London Mayor. I think he's had more scrutiny than most MPs, maybe even people like Kemi and others. He's a pretty good communicator. I would say. I think he speaks a little bit fast, but I think that's just his style. He has got a personality, but he also comes with baggage, loads of baggage around the country. And let's admit, the sort of racist moment that we're in, I think, particularly with a Muslim candidate, there'll be a lot of scrutiny, although I don't think that should put him off. But ultimately, I don't think he wants it, and he has the challenge of getting back into the PLP.
Yeah, I'm going to say not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Everyone's been not a chance so far.
Right.
Foreign Secretary David Lammy.
He's another one. Never, from what I understand, never really wanted the foreign brief whatsoever. Always wanted something more domestic. Always had one eye on London Mayor.
I thought he would have been great at communities, housing and local government.
I thought he was good at justice.
Justice was okay. I mean, he did good stuff with the Lammy Review. I think he could have... He's not a diplomat.
No.
I think he can be a good media performer, but he's in no way a diplomat, and that's why I think this role doesn't suit him.
So here's maybe... I think sometimes he doesn't let his personality out enough, because I suspect there's more there than we get on TV. He has a tendency, in my view, to lose his temper in interviews. I've seen that happen on more than one occasion. Ultimately, I think he has destroyed his own chances through Gaza. I think the party's positioning on Gaza, and certainly him as the chief diplomat and foreign secretary, has been so morally indefensible, and the members are so angry about it, particularly if you look at the polling. I think if he had taken another job, then I think has a chance in that second tier, not on the ballot, but has a chance. But I think Gaza has destroyed any chance, certainly in London. There's no way he can be London Mayor now, and I know for a fact that's what he wanted. Yeah. And I think he's completely shit out of luck being leader because of the positions on Gaza. But that's maybe.
And that's the shame, because a bit like Sadiq, I think he can come across terribly sometimes in the way that he answers, certainly opposition. I produced David very briefly at LBC.
Oh, really?
Great personality.
What was it like?
Fun, up for a laugh, nice guy, charismatic, everything you would want and would succeed at. And again, it's almost like it sucks the life out of them. I think largely the pressure will cause you to become annoyed with certain journalists if they're asking questions, and therefore you get that anger or the annoyance. Good guy, nice guy, loves himself. If he was a bag of Haribo, he'd eat like the bag and the wrapper. Like that David Lammy really believes in David Lammy. But
Trouble is,
nice
right now,
guy.
no one else does.
Yeah.
I mean, and this goes back to this thing we said at the beginning. You know, this is why we're not being offensive if we say not a chance, because like I know I'm going through this thinking, why would anyone want the job of Labour leader?
No, it's true.
I mean, he's offended me by
miserable.
his positioning on Gaza, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
no,
think he deserves what he's going to get. Like, if this tanks his political career, he deserves it.
No,
but I know
I
what
mean,
you're saying,
it's not a indictment of these people's ability, ambition, personality, capability. There's something about being the leader of the governing party or even the biggest party in opposition that probably requires you to be quite a strange individual.
Yeah,
really.
I will say, so I've met most of these guys individually, other than Ali McGovern. I've not met her, not properly anyway. David is one of the best out of the group so far, one-to-one.
I agree. 1,000,000%.
He's very personable.
He's got that talent. Again,
And that's where I think he could have been charming enough to get the numbers to get on the ballot if that's something he wanted, if he'd had another job, as you said.
Yeah, this is not a chance. We're going?
Yeah, no chance, yeah.
This is pertinent. So you guys don't know when we're shooting this, by the way, because it's being edited. But
Came out resigned.
But today, this is crazy.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Is it worth discussion, really?
No chance?
What I will say is he would feature quite heavily as part of, no doubt, somebody else's leadership campaign that's in there.
He is seen in the PLP, particularly on the right, as a talent.
I was going to say, actually, I would say dark horse for him, even with the nonce comment. I'm still going to say dark horse.
Yeah, we should give the context because maybe this comes out in.
Oh, sorry.
So he accused Nigel Farage of
being on the side of paedophiles like Jimmy Savile for not agreeing with the online safety bill.
I might put him in dark horse because also we're talking a year away, so I think forget this comment, right? I think he's seeing this. I actually think amongst the right, he's one of the better media performers and communicators, and that's through a lack of talent, I think. But I think he might have a chance of.
The reason I'm saying dark horse is because I know he's got the backing of some powerful people in Labour currently.
Yeah.
Like
he's one of their names, Tony Blair.
But he's also he's Starmer's friend, and there is a sense that and we all know that the current iteration of the Labour leadership has been quite. I think it's fair to say it's been a bit of a boys' club. Yeah. And I think he is someone who.
It's definitely a boys' club.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever been in number 10, it's a boys' club.
So, and I think he is someone who's probably benefited from that kind of atmosphere.
And is that haircut thing.
He liked haircut, totally.
And he got given the tech and science brief because that was a brief that is kind of hard to fuck up, and it was going to be quite important to this iteration of the Labour leadership.
Is it not a little bit crazy that 2 black MPs, a bunch of women.
I was literally just thinking
we've all put no chance, and then Peter Carl's jumped up and we've gone dark horse.
Yeah, but that's
the
where we are.
That
and also I would say it's not always the best person that wins. It's almost the person for the moment. And I think purely because of the sheer racism that we are living in, none of these lot stand a chance in this current juncture, and that's the sad reality.
It's about who would get elected in the party, not in the country.
Yeah, no, well, yeah.
It's unless the party membership thinks, oh fuck, we need someone to.
Yeah, but I also think the membership. I mean, look at the London mayoral when Sadiq got the candidateship. Look at where the black people were there. David Lammy, Diane, and others were totally rock bottom.
And it's like you say, reverting. Like maybe actually Starmer will be such a failure that they'll say we don't want anyone who looks like Starmer again, but. I don't know if that sort of.
Okay, let's rattle through. What are you going to say?
Not a chance.
Dark horse.
Not this time, anyway.
I'm going to say not a chance. So he's going to go not a chance. Do you want to go next? Though? We're going to have to move quicker.
You go, Matt.
We've got longer arms. Here we go. This is the Kyle Matt game with.
This is the one we've all been waiting for. Here we are. Wes Streeting.
So, Wes Streeting, Health Secretary. I think one of the only few people, the new strikes notwithstanding, that does have some success stories with the NHS waiting times and the waiting lists. He is one of the favourites that's being talked about. I think, despite him being very different politics to me, he's very much on the right of the party, I would suggest. I think he's the best media communicator. I don't know if he's got a stump speech.
People say this. Why?
Because when you watch Wes do an interview, he has a little bit of a banter with the presenter.
He does, yes.
He's willing to have a joke. He's willing to make fun of himself. He's got good message discipline. He usually stays on message, doesn't get veered off, and never loses his temper.
He doesn't get flustered. That's the big one for me.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But then again, because it's a low bar, I think in this era, does he pass the pub test? Could he walk to the front of a bar, have a few chat with the fellas at the front and buy some pints and not come across as odd? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because he's a politician, that's part of it. Wes is running. I heard last week he's already put together his leadership team. And I think the problem is, the reason he may well fail is because the leadership team has a dual target. One is to make him leader of the party, the other is to save his seat. They're two very, very different targets, where I think if you've got the same people working on this sort of stuff, you're definitely failing at one of them, if not both.
Because
but he'll be on the ballot for sure.
And he's not. I don't think he's going to do a chicken run, by the way. I think he's going to stay in Ilford.
Yes,
right?
Although if he's Prime Minister, I'll almost guarantee they'll do the Boris Johnson plan of if Labour was to somehow cling on with the Liberals, some nice friendly backbencher in a safe seat would stand down, get a peerage for doing so, and Wes would be in the by-election and be back in Parliament within a month to be Prime Minister.
The only problem I think he will have is, will he be seen too much as continuity Starmer?
Not necessarily, in the sense of, first of all, I don't think he'd win the membership as it stands. I think if you look at any of the Labour list polling, he's like bottom 3 relegation zone with Starmer and Reeves. Like people, the membership seems to be in a soft. Yeah, Angela Rayner is second most popular behind Ed Miliband with regards to cabinet members. I think he'd be different in the sense of there's a lot of people say he's arrogant.
He'll definitely win the PLP, by the way. He'll have the.
He's respected.
Remember, it's the 3 college system: the PLP, the members, and the trade union and affiliates. I think he would struggle in the trade union.
Struggle with the unions.
He would struggle in the members. Although I think he might do better than people think, and I think he will massively outperform everybody in the PLP.
He'd run a good campaign, and the thing is, people say Blair was arrogant, and people say Streeting's arrogant. I don't care if Blair won 3 elections; that's a good thing, right? I don't mind if he's arrogant if he wins elections.
I don't mind if he's arrogant,
and I think
I mind if he invades foreign countries.
He's a Blairite to his toes, right? He's absolutely. And therefore, I hope he would come forward with new and bold ideas, because Blair was quite radical. I don't think you don't have to be left wing to be radical. National minimum wage was radical. Climate change acts in the 90s was radical. Sure Start was radical. If he came up with new things that made people excited rather than this continuity we've got on of sort of managed decline, that might warm people to him, I'd say.
On the ballot, what are we saying?
Yeah, definitely on the ballot.
Definitely on the ballot. Definitely on the ballot.
I mean, it's worth saying as well that his partner was in charge of selections.
No, not in charge of selection. He ran for selection and was the only ones that lost, actually, in one of the Stockton seats. But he has got a cushy role, not governance and legal, but he was in number 10 for a bit.
Okay, yeah.
And he's been shifted out to HQ again now.
But there's
a whole power couple thing going on.
Yeah, there is. There's a whole power couple thing. And I would say a lot of the new intake of Labour MPs are pretty loyal to the sort of Starmer Streeting brand. So he's got allies there.
On the ballot?
On the ballot.
Yeah.
Should we run it back?
Do you know he'd win the members? Looking at the polls, he would win those members.
I think he's the most popular.
He is.
Him and Angela Rayner, right?
Yeah.
He's the most popular.
Ed's nice.
I think it might kill him this time.
Yeah. Listen, his team are some of the smartest people I've ever met. Yeah. I've got a lot of time for this team.
I wonder, so I once watched, when Corbyn was leader, I once watched an interview, a podcast, I think it was on who's the ex-political communications director for Tony Blair? His name, Alistair Campbell. I watched him on Alistair Campbell on GQ or something. He did a podcast there. And the sense I got was he desperately regretted the route he took as leader, because I think he thought that people around him sandpapered him down too much, kind of took his personality and stuff out. So I wonder if he wants to do it right this time.
He was knocking around that time Tom Baldwin, he was probably sandpapering him down and whatnot. I
think he's a dark horse if he decides to do it, because he'll have enough respect in the PLP. The trade unions would still back him over Wes Streeting, and he'll win the members.
Stranger things have happened. I'd be surprised.
But I don't think he'll do it,
No, I don't think he'll want to do it. And he's another one. He might not even have his seat in 4 years. He's under huge pressure in Doncaster. Doncaster North. There's a huge reform surge. Yeah. They only just staved off the mayoral competition there. And nice guy. I think and again, actually, we talk about communicators. Ed's very rarely off message, keeps his calm.
Just don't eat on camera.
He's a geek. Yeah. We don't elect geeks in this country, and that's a shame maybe in itself. Clever guy, but he ain't going anywhere. He's he'll.
I'm going to put him dark horse.
Okay, interesting.
What would you put him?
I'd say no chance, but stranger things have happened.
I'll say dark horse.
Right. He's going dark horse.
Okay.
Do you want to go?
We're team Ed in here. This is interesting.
There you go.
There's your winner.
Yeah.
There's your winner.
I agree.
Purely she's deputy prime minister. You're in prime position, right? For basically to sort of take over even temporarily, let alone anything else. Second most
For
popular.
those listening, Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister.
Yes.
That's who we're talking
about. Second most popular cabinet minister according to the recent Labour list poll.
Would sweep the trade unions.
Yes.
And do you know what she has? A lot of people don't like Angela Rayner, but a lot of people across the spectrum do like Angela Rayner. She has a broad appeal to some of those voters that Keir Starmer just can't get back.
Yeah, and I also think, look, she's a northern woman, so
Yeah.
I think people would appreciate someone from outside London.
Yeah.
I think Labour struggles with that sort of London academic elite sort of SW12. Is it SW12? I think it's
SW1.
Yeah, no one can accuse her of having a
Yeah.
silver spoon in her mouth
Yeah.
and not understanding what it is that people,
But the question is, I think she came out heavy in favour of the disability cuts, which pissed off the members enormously. I am suspect about the political strategy of doing that.
And she's pissed off the unions.
And she's pissed off the unions and Unite, especially, because Unite is the biggest trade union if it doesn't disaffiliate by that point. She has, I think, wedded herself to Starmer and some of the failures way too much. I think she could have differentiated. So I think Wes has created a little bit of distance between himself, focusing primarily on his work. And I just think she's come to bat. So, for example, I'll tell you this. I know for a fact that originally, before they U-turned on the disability cuts, she was making calls to MPs, trying to convince them to support it, which I think was a desperate political mistake with, we all know, a leadership election coming. So that's where I think she will struggle, but she's definitely on the ballot.
I think the fact that she has the New Deal for Workers under her belt is a good thing for her to talk about and to shout about, because that is arguably one of the most progressive things that this Labour government is still hammering on at. As long as it doesn't get watered down anymore.
You've got renters reform as well. There's another big
and
sort
renters
of win that
reform as
people
well.
don't talk about enough.
So, no, we'll do this at the end.
Right.
We'll do this at the end. She's
On the
definitely
ballot.
on the ballot.
Okay.
Oh, Matt, this is yours. Let's see what we got.
Listen, Andy.
No
Andy.
chance.
No chance. I would say, if we're rattling through, I think Lisa still harbours hopes. I think she's been firmly put in her box by Morgan, who has a grudge against her, and been given to. They were in Labour together, literally. And when Morgan decided it was going to be a Keir Starmer leadership thing, they fell out. And she's had 2 or 3 demotions since in reshuffles. She's got to be careful as well. I've heard she's been going around saying she wants a bigger job at the reshuffle, and I think you've not really done anything in DCMS. Like, what have you been doing? Where are you?
The rumour is DCMS. Yeah, and the rumour is DCMS is going to get dissolved anyway.
So I think
probably couldn't go worse, actually.
I'd say she had her time. She had her chance. I thought 2019 was I think that was that.
But
was
they
the best
do
time.
seem to be benching her in quite a public way, I would say,
Yes.
which. On the one hand, it could be her death knell, but on the other hand, it's quite clear what's happening, and I think you could get a little groundswell of support for,
a soft left candidate,
no one puts Lisa in the corner, sort of thing.
Yeah. So no chance.
I don't know. Dark horse.
I'm saying
if
dark
she wanted to
horse.
go, could she get the numbers?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, right.
Maybe.
I'm saying
but
dark
I think
horse,
she's probably had a time.
leaning towards bench. Yeah. Burnham.
Andy Burnham,
Mayor of Greater Manchester.
Mayor of Greater Manchester, former. What role did he have in?
Why is he the only one with a landscape photograph?
So I'll tell you why. Because all the other ones are parliamentary photos.
Very nice.
And that goes to the point.
Well, hang on. What about Sadiq? His is
don't worry about it.
So Andy was Shadow Health Secretary, was Health Secretary. He was, I think, Chief Secretary to the Treasury for a period as well. He's the only one that wins an election for me. General election, he's the only one.
Is he not the most popular politician in the country? I say this all the time, so if it's wrong.
Maybe. He's probably the only Labour person that polls well inside and outside Red Wall.
I think you're right. So if you were to actually ask me, look beyond the leadership election to, like, if I'm standing behind a Labour leader who gives me the best chance of defeating reform, it's Andy Burnham.
I think also
he's from the north. He's got success to shout about in Manchester. He has done a great job
He's
in
charismatic.
Manchester. They love him in Manchester, by the way. And for someone who's 2 terms in now or something, 2 terms in.
Yes,
maybe
I
even
think.
3.
It might be 3.
And you know what? He passes the pub test.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
People would go and have a drink with him.
1,000,000%.
And you know what else he has? He
good communicator.
He picks up the phone to journalists.
Does he?
He does.
Right. How many times has he
picked up the phone to me? So I like him, and he gets my vote. No, but he's got like some important things that he talks about, which I think resonate with particular voters, like the Hillsborough stuff, is something that he hammered on for years and years and years, and I think that is something that people do not forget. Health and social care is a big thing. You know, he tried with the social care system. He's one of the few politicians that has tried and hasn't just said, "I'm not touching that." Both of those things indicate a degree of political bravery, which I think is impressive. So I think Burnham's got a good shot.
So the problem is he's not an MP. Now, I will say, I know for a fact, and I've heard, that there are Manchester MPs who have offered their seats.
There's a plan. There's a plan underway.
Yeah.
There is absolutely a plan.
I think I've got goosebumps.
But he's...
if, before everything starts, I think I would support him. Yeah.
The other thing is he wants it compared to some of the others that we've put forward. Andy wants it. I don't know about the timing.
Can I just say one thing? One MP said to me, and I won't reveal who, but you'll probably figure it out by the context. Andy has been the favourite child before and fucked it up, apparently.
Yes, well, someone said that publicly as well. It was an MP, and that's my only concern is Andy's had 2 bites at this, messed it up both times by ridiculous strategies and changed his mind last minute on things from people that were helping out in his last campaign. I think he's gone away to Manchester and learnt a lot, and he's seen what you can do with power. He's moulded his image. And again, Nigel Farage, right, as dangerous he is probably the best political communicator in the country right now. He's probably a close second.
So I guess that's the question you would ask yourself is, on that debate stage on BBC or ITV, a couple of weeks out, who do you want opposite him?
Burnham all day. Burnham is the only one I think can save Labour. I really do.
I actually agree with you. Right, we need to get through
these. Let's get moving because we're. So we're saying on the ballot, yeah?
On the ballot. 100%.
Yeah, on the ballot. Yeah.
How many are left?
If you want it.
You take that one.
Okay.
I'll take this one. You take those 2.
Okay. I'm gonna.
Right, you go first.
Okay, we've got Richard Burgon.
Now, Richard, I'll make the case for Richard, because I think the left will need someone to rally around. I didn't think Richard was the person, but I've watched him a lot, particularly, maybe it's because Gaza is the issue, but I've been more impressed with the fact that he might be able to rally people around him. I think the context of the election, given that the sort of right project might have been seen to fail, might push people. And I also think Labour members in government might be more radical with who they choose because they want stuff done than the electability thing that gets said outside of government. So he'll struggle mostly with people saying he's unelectable, but will be already in government. That being said, I don't think he gets the numbers in the PLP.
I think people think he's unelectable. I also think he's kind of associated with the failure of the Corbyn project.
Possibly. I like Richard. I get on with Richard. Organised office, gets a hard time, I think. But I could see him putting his hat in the ring. I think he may be the chosen son of the left at the moment, but again, wouldn't get the numbers, won't make the ballot, no chance.
There's one missing from here that I definitely had, but we'll talk about it. Do you want to do yours?
Yes, we've got Bridget
Phillipson, education secretary.
With a totally different hairstyle.
Yes.
I didn't recognise her.
She has
the old one.
Yeah, can I say, she has my all-time favourite media moment when she was asked about the concert tickets during the freebie scandal, and she said, "My daughter made me do it."
She actually, I must have missed that one.
Yeah, she was like, my daughter wanted to.
She couldn't even own up to liking Taylor Swift.
Blaming the kids.
That is a cardinal sin.
Well, quite.
Everyone likes Taylor Swift. Come on, Bridge.
I think Bridget has ambition. I remember in opposition, she was asking around for somebody that she could employ that knew the trade unions very well, because I think she figured that's where she would lose out to somebody like Angela Rayner. I think she's popular with the PLP. She's quietly gone about her business. Her team are very organised, nice enough people, one of which I think was a bit of a sabotage in 2019, so I'll park that slightly. But I would say a dark horse, most certainly. I think she could, depending on her and Wes, be the sort of chosen right-wing Blairite candidate or whatever.
Think?
Yeah.
But there's no way she wins that argument with Wes. Or that internal, let's say that factional primary.
Unless
she could pull the woman card.
Yeah, and unless there is a sort of
working class woman.
Yeah, working class woman, maybe even like a Brown Blair Labour type, leadership type. I'll do it this time and you get it next time.
Can you see a world in which if they can't agree internally in the faction, they both run?
I don't think they necessarily have any loyalty to one another. The person Bridget has loyalty to, and you might as well bring her in because I've seen who's the next picture, is the Chancellor.
Reeves, the Chancellor.
Now, I always, until more recent events, Rachel Reeves very much believed in her own hype, and I think probably did fancy herself at one point. The problem is, if Bridget really wants to run, Rachel wouldn't, and vice versa. So my understanding was in opposition. Bridget's first job in opposition was in Shadow Treasury team.
Sorry, I'm allergic to the idea of Rachel Reeves.
And Rachel said, "Don't worry, I will help you get a better job." And then she ended up Shadow Education. So she's always been loyal to Rachel. So if Rachel wished to run, then Bridget would not. And I think vice
no
versa.
way, right?
Oh no, like literally,
Come on.
it's politically toxic. She's probably the only person more. Or maybe more unpopular than the Prime Minister. Like,
and that's actually quite hard.
By the way,
to
also amongst Labour members. Yeah, not just the pledge.
Yeah, and I think even Number 10 know that, because during the welfare stuff, the Treasury wouldn't meet with anybody. It was Liz Kendall and Number 10. Nobody met with the Treasury because they knew they were the archetypes that were knocking on the door for the money.
You want to talk about charisma? I have to say, I do think she has the least charisma.
Yeah.
Which one? Rachel Reeves. Rachel Reeves is the worst political communicator I've ever seen in the history of...
Worst voice, even worse than Keir. Very, very nasally. I've seen flat pack, bits of furniture less wooden than Rachel Reeves. Like, she's a very wooden individual.
I think
so. She is a real no chance. I know I laughed at Ali McGovern at the start, but Rachel Reeves is no chance.
No, if you put Rachel Reeves, Ali McGovern looks like Barack Obama. I did start this with "Don't take it personally."
Yes, we've delved into that.
You're politicians. You should be able. So look, the only other one that I had included on the list was Clive Lewis.
Oh yeah,
because I actually think Clive has again some charisma, but definitely of the left. Definitely has charisma. Is a decent political communicator. So because the thinking I'm having is the left will have a candidate, surely, right? That might be this guy, right? They might not likely. Not that he's on the left, but the left will go. Listen, we're in the pits. We get behind. But I think Clive Lewis is a dark horse. But I think it'll either be Clive, Richard, or Nadia that the left coalesce around.
Yeah, I know Clive's definitely thought about it and may harbour those ambitions. Yeah, but I think from those within the sort of SCG that I speak to, Burnham is their preferred candidate as a real actual could get elected type of thing.
Yeah, it's between these three really.
Are we all picking our winner?
Who's your winner?
Are we doing what I would like to see or what I think will happen?
Do both.
Oh, okay, no pressure. So. I think Angela Rayner will win because the membership will get her over the line. She's in the best position, and my understanding from people in and around her, she doesn't really want it. But
she did say no when Laura Kunzberg asked her if you're.
But you've got it. You can't say yes when you've got a sitting prime minister. You just the knives will be out. I will say, she doesn't want it, but the understanding is if Wes runs, she'll run because it's a battle for the heart and soul of the Labour Party. So I think she wins. I think the only way for the Labour Party to survive post-2029 is through Andy Burnham, and that would be my preferred choice.
Might ask me if I want to be Labour leader.
Do you want to be Labour leader?
Your picture?
Yeah, come on.
There's not a category for not in a fucking million years.
Stop asking. Get out of your head. I'm going to totally agree with Matt's analysis again. I think, for me, I mean, look, I'd be happy with Ange. I think she's good.
It'd be interesting.
I think she would inject something new into the party, but I think Burnham is all we have left.
No, literally, that's what it feels like.
I would obviously prefer Burnham as well. I'm never. I've known Wes Streeting since the National Union of Students days.
Oh yeah,
beat us in a couple of elections back then. He will run a very good campaign, right? From a technical perspective. Yes. I wouldn't count him out, but I do think he'll struggle in the membership.
Yes.
But I think the media will give him a better time. I think it'll be Wes.
They'll win.
But I'd like it to be Andy Burnham.
Interesting. Well,
but I also think, by the way, I think Angela Rayner, if she gets the right team around her and thinks radically and has enough time between winning, if she does win, and the next leadership election, I wouldn't count her too far out from also turning the ship around insofar as a hung parliament where Labour might be able to put something together.
I think possibly it's something different. I think it's a level of authenticity that Starmer doesn't have if standing up to Farage on a debate stage. I think PMQs, obviously it's something different. She's maybe relatable, and I think Zoe's right. Across the spectrum, there will absolutely be an element of misogyny and classism because there always is, unfortunately. But
racism, by the way, in the three people that we put up.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, that tells you where we are again. But I think Angela, she will tell it differently, but Tory voters would see it as a pull yourself up by your own bootstraps sort of story. She would say, well, actually, it was the welfare state that was there for me and the support that I had and whatever else. But I think she'd have an interesting story to tell. I do wonder, I don't know if we've got time, whether it would be seen as quite historic and a bit of a story to tell that Wes Streeting could be the first openly gay Prime Minister. And whether that is... I asked somebody this the other week, and I said, to be really crude, he'd tick a box if we're talking about we still haven't elected a woman. We've elected the first openly gay man. And he said, well, the problem is, I think where the country is at the moment, I think the country's possibly quite homophobic, and therefore it wouldn't necessarily work for him. I didn't know what you do.
Do you think it'll work against him?
I don't know. I don't think people would care either way, if I'm honest.
I kind of
maybe.
I'm kind of that perspective. I think in terms of optics, it's still, it would be like that leadership debate where it's all white men. That would still be how it looks.
True.
But I do see. Yeah, I don't know. I think because this Labour haven't elected a woman thing follows them around, that is more significant. But I don't think people would care that much about that part of Wes' story. I don't know.
We've got 2 minutes. Is there anyone names that we haven't mentioned that should be in there?
Should be, or I don't know.
Do you think dark horses? I don't think so. No.
I don't think so. Is there going to be a newbie that... I tell you, may well just fancy themselves off the top is someone like Mike Tapp to go, yeah, do you know what, I could do this. I'll just throw me. Yeah. So one of these sort of Twitter-in-chief types who just goes...
Can I offend him?
Yeah.
Looks AI generated.
Yeah, I can see it.
First time I saw the profile picture, I was like...
What about Darren Jones?
Oh, I hear this one quite a bit. I think the problem for him is, one... and I need to check with Patrick Maguire because I think this is my Mandela effect moment. I am adamant in Patrick and Gabriel's first book that Darren Jones had done private focus groups and polling on what would happen if he defected to the Lib Dems. He was so terrified of losing his seat to the Lib Dems in 2019. Now, I still need to ask back because no one can remember this. No one can remember reading it, so I don't know if I've just totally made that up, but I'm sure that's the case. He's a little bit too tied to the Rachel project, I feel. And I think even when people talk about will there be a new chancellor and he gets spoken about, he's basically the same person. I think,
Do you know when I was looking this up, who the bookies had?
Oh, yeah.
One of, not in the top, but like 10th, 11th, Kim Leadbeater.
Oh,
but
God.
I just can't see that happen.
But there's bookies that never know anything, is it? That's the problem. They just
politics.
go off.
I think it's
like...
just because her name was being thrown around a lot during
Yeah.
dying.
All right. Well, thank you both. That was fun. Interesting.
It was fun.
Maybe by the time this goes out, that will have leadership election will have started. But thank you guys for listening. Listen, in the comments section below, let us know. Did we get it right? Is there anyone that we missed? Do you agree that, as in what we're thinking, that the top three are likely to be Streeting, Rayner, and Burnham if he can get back into the PLP? Like, share, comment on the video. Please do share the video around. If you're listening, give us 5 stars, whether it's on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. And
if you're any of the MPs, don't be offended.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. I did start with saying, have a thick skin.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you on another episode of the Politics of Podcast.